So I'm teaching a new class that covers the fundamentals of programming. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been looking specifically at HTML. And one of the most fun things that you can do with HTML is just learn to customize your own website. And among those things includes adding your own custom fonts or custom fonts that don't come default with your system. So my students were asking me, how can we do this? A shout out to them, by the way. And I was going to make them a video. But then I remembered in my video backlog, what I call my archive, I've already got some videos that cover HTML. So here in a second, I'm going to let that play. But I just want to tell you a little bit about it first. So it's going to cover a little bit more than just fonts. It's got some other just more general advice for dealing with computers and for doing HTML just at large. So stick around for that as well. And you'll notice it's not as polished as a more modern YouTube video, so bear with me. And you'll also notice that my hair is quite a bit longer in that video. It is like 3 years old. It's part of a series as well, so you'll hear me throughout the video saying, you'll remember previously we did this or previously we did that. If you're interested in seeing the rest of the series, if you think this video was helpful for you, leave a like, leave a comment, and I might release some of the other videos that were part of that class as well. Lastly, I'm using an IDE that I haven't really used much since called Brackets. And you'll notice it's got some really cool functionality where it automatically updates the browser so that you can see your changes happen live. I remember I stopped using it because Adobe ended support for it in 2021. But it looks like the project might have been picked up by somebody else. I haven't looked into it, but if you're curious about Brackets, that's what I'm using, and if it is still being supported, it was a really cool tool. Alright, so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Past Me. So in the last video, amongst other things, I talked about fonts and changing font sizes and font family, font color, all that good stuff. And I mentioned briefly that you didn't have to use the fonts that are installed on your computer, and that you could instead use fonts from the internet or a font you had designed yourself. And I said that that really wasn't something that I thought we needed to go into. I didn't think you were going to use it. But I'm walking that back now because in class we did have some cases where there were some interesting fonts that weren't natively available on the machine, especially like a Chromebook or something. So I'll show you how you can download a font and how you can include it in your web pages. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is actually find your font. So, and this is actually going to be, you got to be careful. You don't want to just go around on the internet clicking on random websites and downloading random things. That's a recipe for disaster. If you play with fire, you're eventually going to get burnt. So make sure you're downloading from places that are reliable. I went to Google, I typed in Google Fonts, and I followed the link. So fonts.google.com. We know that Google is trustworthy. I mean, Google makes your Chromebooks. Google is the search engine. It powers our emails, stuff like that. So we can trust Google. So we're going to go through here, and I'm going to see what sort of fonts I can find, and I haven't looked at this yet, so let's see if we can find anything like really interesting. I want to find something different that we can see that it actually worked, something worth downloading. Because if it just looks like all the other fonts, well then, is it really worth it? Let's see. I wonder if they have like a Star Wars. Ooh, there we go. This video game font, that's what I want. Oh wow. I actually kind of want this one. This is sort of like a technology font. Geostar Fill. So you click on that. And you're also going to want to make sure that if you're downloading a font or something, look at its license, make sure you can use it. Fonts are exactly like images. If you don't own the rights to them or the rights haven't been put in the public domain or something, or they're not fair use, you shouldn't be using it. So it looks like it's an open font license, so I think we can use it. I think we're good. So what you do is you just click on Download Family, There we go. And it's going to download this zip folder. So let me go and find that. So we're going to go to the downloads, and we're going to extract this. Go inside, and here it is. So this is a TTF file. That's how you save fonts. You can open it, and this is what it looks like. So I don't know if you're familiar with this sentence, but the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. That sentence contains every letter in the alphabet. So this is a good way of testing the font and putting it out here. And then you got all the numbers as well. And then up here is all the different letters and numbers and symbols. So that's where they're being defined. Okay. And if you were able to make your own .ttf file, then you can follow the process from here to add it to your web page. I've never made a .ttf file. I'm not sure exactly what all goes into that, but I'm sure you could do some Googling and figure that out. It's probably not too difficult. The hardest part's probably actually making the characters. Alright, so we've got our file. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this, Control X, I'm just going to cut it, Control X, and I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to go to the directory. It is where I'm working, right? Oh, no, I'm in test folder. This is why you should name your folder something that makes sense. I did that to prove a point that you could move the directories around for a previous video. And now it's kind of hard to find. And I'm going to create another folder. Fonts. So each of these folders is a different type of resource. It's like audio, fonts, images, projects, videos. And that's so that you can easily find stuff when you're looking for it. Oops, not audio. Fonts. And Control V will paste it in there. So Geostar Fill Regular. Go over here. There it is, fonts. And we are currently working with the index. So that's this over here. And maybe I should move to a different file so you can see a little better. Because we've done a number on that index. Let's see, what do we got? Do we have anything with lots of words? Now, this is a decent amount of words. Okay, let's mess with this one. So inside the head, just like before, we're going to say style, and then you're going to close it, so the two style tags. And we need to grab that font. So you can do this thing, at font hyphen face. And then it follows the exact same sort of CSS styling, the way that syntax works. So you put the curly braces, and then on the inside, font family. Use a colon, and the colon is sort of like the equal sign. You're saying what the font family is, and this is where we're naming it. So let's call it Geostar Fill semicolon. Then the source is telling it where to find that file. Like, where is the source of the font? And you want to use URL, so it's the Uniform Resource Locator, if you'll recall from when we went through internet stuff. And now we need to provide the path to that file. So URL, you typically think that it's related to the internet, files on the internet. I mean, this is a web page, so if you were to take this all the way, you would eventually publish this on like a server or something. You'd be hosting it. So even a page that would now, or a file that would now be local, would eventually be on the web. But you could also include something like a traditional URL, like www.whatever. And I haven't played with that. There might be some things you have to tweak a little bit, but it should work the same way. The reason you're going to want to do it this way, though, is lots of people that put their fonts online, they don't offer them in such a way that you can grab them from some sort of web host. Instead, you have to download them and then have them on your machine, or have them in some sort of file directory where the person with the browser can get it. So we're going to do this the exact same way as before. Where we're doing the file path, we want to use relative, not absolute. That way it works on all machines. And we are looking at the video.html, which is inside of the week 1 folder. So we have to move up a directory. So now we're in the week 1 folder, and we need to move up one. So now we're in the projects, we're in the projects folder, and we want to move up. So now we're in the root directory. And then we want to move down into the fonts. And then we want to move into Geo Star Fill Regular .ttf, because it's a font file. And to be good, we're going to put a semicolon at the end of that. And that should load in the font for us. Now we need to use the font, and using it is the exact same as it would have been regardless of where it came from. So for the body, I want to set the font family to GeoStar Fill. And as you can see, there we go. It updated it for me. That's pretty cool. And if you'll recall, you can change this. So it's all about that inheritance. So the body is the biggest of all of the elements. So all of its children are going to get this font family. If you just want your headings, like your H1 headings, to have it, now a paragraph's not going to inherit from H1. So we can just do that. If you want multiple types of different headings, you can add like H2 and H3. And then that still leaves the paragraphs unaffected. So to walk you through that process one more time, just a quick review. You go and you find your font online somewhere that you really want to use. You click on download. Now be careful where you go. This is Google, so it doesn't have a bunch of ads everywhere, and it's pretty easy to find the download button. But if you go somewhere else, there could be a bunch of ads that also say download, so be very careful. Click on it, download it. Go to your downloads folder and get the actual file, because you might have, in all likelihood, downloaded a zip folder. Grab that file, move it into your directory so that you have it and you know where it is. Then go into your HTML file where you want to use it and use font face, give it a name, you supply the path, and then you can use it just like any other thing. And we'll talk a little bit about how to do this a little more smoothly later. Like, you don't want to load that font in on every single web page. That's a lot of typing. So, as you could guess, programmers being as lazy as they are, there's an easier way to do it, and we'll get to it. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.